Hi there, everybody. So, after a lot of reminders that I should do this, I've decided I'm going to just tell my story because I think that's where everything starts. Um, Thanks to Kimberly Parker, I'm going to give her credit for pushing me to do this. And for the past several years, probably 10 years or more, actually starting back probably in the 70s when my grandma died of cancer. Then my mom died 12 short years after that, and they both died of the same cancer. I think I already then was like starting to ask questions. Why is that? What is going on in our world? And I think there's a narrative going on right now that is like you can only heal yourself with chemo radiation or it has to be getting back to the basics, which is great, but some of the basics are not what they seem to be. And I think a lot of people are being misled. So my story goes way back to the 70s and what makes me an expert, right? So just let me tell my story because I grew up on a big dairy farm. We raised, chickens, eggs. We had the dairy, we had the milk, and really my grandparents did eat pretty much grass fed. So, but my grandma and my mom both died of cancers, and the whole family was riddled with diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and I'm seeing it now in my own siblings. And why is that? Um, Some of us don't have it, but we're doing some things differently. So just to go on from there, I also went on to study other things. I really nerded out on health my whole life. Probably about it started when I was 14, 15 years old when my grandma died, my mom died when it was in my early years of marriage. And it was sad to see her go because there's many times I wanted to ask her some questions. Um, so time went on, and I just anything I could, get my hands on. I even tried different diets. Everybody wants to lose their weight, whatever. Um, got into studying homeopathy about 10 years ago, and I thought, this is it. This is the answer. Um, and I got where I could, you know, like fix somebody, right? Myself, my husband, other people. But it didn't stick. So I got to thinking, well, this isn't totally it. I think homeopathics are great. I really do. But there's still medication. So I went on to find out that it really was about what we are putting in our mouth, nutritarian. And I went totally nutritarian. And I had my own issues with my gum disease. I've had surgery on my gum line for 2 to 3 times now in the past probably 20 years. And what's most interesting is one of my things was my dentist thought I was going to lose my teeth. I actually, they're not perfect, but the bone structure has actually rebuilt. And you'll be told that bones cannot rebuild, but that's because bone mass takes a long time to grow back. But I'm like, I'm going to stick to this, keep eating this way. I had headaches, had back aches. I had a hip that would go out, and I would have sciatica that was huge. I would walk around bent over like an old lady. A couple years ago, my hip was bothering me, and I was like, well, why is that? That was probably 3 or 4 years ago now. Went in, they told me I would need hip surgery, and I'm like, well, what am I doing that I can correct this? So I tweaked a few more things. Um, and lo and behold, then I ended up a ways back here with even a lump of my thyroid. Went to one doctor, he said, yeah, it looks like cancer. I already was doing a cancer protocol because I had met a gentleman from California who was treating people nutritarian plus plus plus, which it doesn't. This is not that hard to do, but it's different, um, and it's inexpensive. But he was having great success with a lot of cancer patients. A friend of mine ended up getting cancer. I think we'd have lost it within 6 months, and I'm going to give him credit. His name's Dave Summers. He actually got that to turn around within a week. She was to the point where coughing all the time, losing weight. She could hardly even function, and she had breast cancer about 25 years before this. And actually, what happened? The chemo or radiation actually damaged her sternum, which caused the issues she had, and then it led to other issues also. But she did very well for a number of years, and then kind of fell into mainstream medicine, some of those things again. Didn't stick to it 100%. And you know what? Some of us can't cheat. And you know, going back to my mom, when my mom died of cancer, she had a few friends and that had cancer at the same time. They they chose a different route, and they are alive today. I can think of three of them right offhand. Two, three, yeah. And I recently have been speaking to some of them, and I'm like, what? Why did my mom do what you did? And the answer was, I don't know. And my mom also had a friend that died of cancer at the same time. They did not do 100% nutritarian. I'll use that word because I don't even know if people understand what that means. It's not impossible to do. It's just a term that really describes what I do. It's probably nutritarian plus, especially if you have something horrendous you're dealing with. So with myself, when I ended up with the thyroid cancer, there was a lump or mass on my thyroid. You could see it about the size of a half of an egg, and basically, my partner from California, I talked to him, and he said, "Well, why don't you just do what you're supposed to do?" And I was good, but I know I wasn't perfect, and that's what I did. And within 20 days, it was gone. And I can tell if I'm, you know, have my, if I want to, you want to call them cheats, whatever, too much. I can tell there's something there, but you can't see it anymore. It's virtually gone. And they say everybody has cancer, so I don't worry about it all because I know exactly what shuts it off and turns it on. If your body is too acidic, yep, you're driving disease in your body. It's just like putting bad oil in a car, bad gas, having bad tires. You have to have the right things in your body that's going to turn off the cancer, turn it on, whichever way you want it to go. Some people don't care, I guess. So with my friend, I think she lived like another 8 or 10 years, where I think we'd have lost her within the first 6 months probably. And so you can go down the road of allopathic medicine, naturopathic medicine, whatever you want. Basically, they still are band-aids. It's just a band-aid approach. It can treat you with radiation or chemo and get rid of a lump, bump, whatever it is, but it will come back because it doesn't change the environment in which that is growing. Your body is still set up to grow that. It's just like a garden that's set up to grow weeds, or is it set up to grow tomatoes, cucumbers, and squash? What we want to grow there? So allopathic medicine, naturopathic medicine, homeopathic medicine, a lot of them are kind of fall in the same category. And obviously naturopathic and homeopathic are much safer for you, but we're still treating the symptom. We're not addressing what's really causing it, and it's really more about lifestyle, day-to-day things that we're doing. And you know, I'll be the first to say that, you know, surgery procedures and things that doctors can do, like if I'm in an accident on the side of the road, please put me back together, right? I think through God's design and science, man, using science appropriately, we have developed some really amazing strategies or surgeries, operations, whatever it is, to repair the human body. But on the same note, our body is the most beautiful thing in the world. God gave it to us, and He has designed it to heal, but we have to feed it what it needs, not what we just like, right? And you know, with the food being so tainted, you might say, you know, it's high sugar, it's high oil, it's high fat, it's laden with salts. It's become an addiction for us. It's almost like being an alcoholic, and people who eat that way, it's really hard for them to go back to eating good, wholesome food. So it's basically I have a process of where we're going to change your desire for food, and so that you love really good food again. And it's just amazing what in like 10 days you can do. And some people will say, well, this is really radical. Why, why would we, oh, I can't stop eating that or whatever. And I'd ask, well, do you make other sacrifices? Do you, a lot of Catholics say we give up meat for Lent. We fast. And there's people doing fasting just to fast too. So these are all sacrifices. So it's really not that much different than what you're doing. And in the end, you'll love your food. I love the food that I eat now, and feel great on it. And so people who say, well, that's a radical way to live, or maybe to change, well, you might be put on medications for high blood pressure, or have a stent put in, or open heart surgery. Well, do you think maybe those things are a little radical? Open heart surgery, or having your body invaded and having a stent put in it, or if you have a lump or bump that they slice you open and take it out, or some people who have had a good portion of their intestines taken out because there's a mass in there. We had a lady actually who followed the Nutritarian protocol, and the mass actually shrunk quite a bit, and it wasn't even considered cancerous anymore. It was still there, but it didn't have the cancerous. Like cancer has fingers it puts out, and there's things that make those fingers grow, and there's things that stop those fingers from growing. So that's what we cover when we go through our program at Beyond Health. So you can spend thousands and thousands, and you can almost break the bank spending money on naturopathic, allopathic. What we do here at Beyond Health is very, it's not even a drop in the bucket compared to that. And you will have the tools to walk away and live and feel good, and do this with your family too. So just some examples of things that we have done here.